Welcome back to Watch the Booker Man and to episode number 100 of Paul Heyman's TNA. Feels really good to be able to say that we have hit that landmark. I remember saying at 50, hopefully we'll reach 100 and beyond. Well, we've done just that, and this series now, if you include the TEW 2016 Prelude series that I did, is now over 2 years old. Started on the 1st of April 2020, and over 2 years later, we are still going strong. Hopefully. The series began just after Bound for Glory 2009, and of course, we continue along the build to Bound for Glory 2011 with Hard Justice, just 2 months away from the biggest pay-per-view of the year, but there's no doubt that we have a huge card for tonight's show, so let's waste no more time and get into this pay-per-view. And we begin, as we always do, with a video package which looks to put over the chaos that has ensued TNA in recent times. The arrival of CM Punk served as a catalyst for this situation to escalate from already being quite out of control, and it escalated it to the next level. Footage is shown from the last couple of weeks as the issues between the Ring of Honor guys and TNA have developed into an all-out war, particularly on these last 2 episodes of Impact. Amidst all the chaos, we want to put across that there's a level of order in terms of the World Heavyweight Championship. No matter what's going on in the company, you can never forget that the most important thing is that top title, and Bryan Danielson's World Championship reign began amidst all this chaos. While the current landscape is as unpredictable as it has ever been in TNA, one thing is clear. Bryan Danielson will have to match and perhaps even surpass his performance level from Victory Road as he faces the greatest wrestler of all time, Kurt Angle. Mauro and Taz then welcome viewers to the pay-per-view, putting across the uncertainty that the company is feeling after this riot last week and after the attack the week before that. And once again, security is on high alert for this show, with the priority to ensure that things run as smoothly as they possibly can in the current environment. We know that it's not going to be plain sailing tonight. We're going to do our best to make sure that this pay-per-view doesn't just fall into complete disarray, and we open, as is pretty much a tradition, with the X Division Championship match. The first thing I notice, there is a definite lack of psychology on display. I'm not sure that's fair, but we won't dwell too much on what is a solid opening match and a good performance from Tyler Black, and he picks up the victory over Frankie Kazarian. This is probably the most clean win he's had in the last few months, but there's still Jimmy Jacobs at ringside, ensuring that when Kazarian is building some momentum, there can be a distraction, maybe a pull of the leg, and something that just doesn't quite allow him to build that momentum. He goes for a fade to Black to Tyler Black. That would be the move that would end it if he could hit it, but Black manages to keep hold of the ropes, pulls out of it, and eventually he can hit the Black out stomp to make a 4th successful defense of the TNA X Division Championship. Like I said, really good from Tyler Black with a 78, and while Jimmy Jacobs did make his presence felt, we can say for a change that Tyler Black will be able to take the majority of credit for this victory. He was taken to his limit by Frankie Kazarian, no doubt. 15 minutes of fast-paced, high-octane action, a really good way to open the pay-per-view, I feel. Jacobs joins the X Division champion in the ring, who is next in line for a shot at Tyler Black's title. He has beaten a number of very, very impressive contenders, but of course, as a champion, you always have to look for that next challenger. We then go into the second match of the night, and it's probably one that's not had as much build as any other match on the pay-per-view card. It's the follow-up to Tara's victory over Alyssa Flash, which was slightly controversial, and in this case, Tara sets up for the Widow's Peak. It looks like she's going to go 2-0 against Alyssa Flash. On Evolve, she said that she was looking for the Knockouts Championship. She looks to reiterate that by looking down the camera and trying to send a message to the Knockouts Champion. In doing this, she takes her eye off the ball, and Flash escapes and rolls her up for the 1-2-3. It's a decent match, but hopefully quite a shock. Tara's been on a dominant run since the end of her feud with Mickie James, out of the blue, and by taking her eye off the ball for the first time, she has been so focused for these last few months. The first blip, and she ends up losing. So a lesson to be learned by the experienced Tara there. And as Alyssa Flash has her arm raised in the ring, her moment is overshadowed by Tara throwing a tantrum. She can't believe that that one single mistake is what's cost her. She gets in her opponent's face. She can't believe her first loss since Sacrifice has come tonight. Mauro and Taz point out that her attempts to send a message is exactly what has cost her. She could well have been on her way to becoming the #1 contender if she'd have just kept that focus. That first lapse, as I said, coming back to bite her. Alyssa Flash leaves the ring. She doesn't want to get into this right now, but she tells Tara they can do this again anytime that she wants it. And with the two women now having won one match each, it's almost certain that we'll see a third match between them. We then get a video package before the World Tag Team Championship match, and we look back on the first week of the Bound for Glory Tag Team Series, during which the Kings of Wrestling and WGTT picked up victories in their block, while a draw between Beer Money and the Motor City Machine Guns allowed the Young Bucks to take the lead in Block B, with the series continuing this Thursday on Impact. The next match will see the series winners' Bound for Glory opponents confirmed. There's 10 teams all battling out to make it to the World Tag Team title shot at Bound for Glory, but this is the last World Tag Team title match. Before then, the Icon and the Enigma defending against Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, the New Age of Honor's American Wolves. So we go into the World Tag Team title match, and I booked this as a car crash, partly because we want to cover up that maybe he's only had a handful of matches in the last couple of years, so he's probably not at the level that he previously was, and we want to cover that up as much as possible. And also, it's just the nature of these matches involving the New Age of Honor. And again, as the Icon and the Enigma look set to complete the victory, ANX run out from the back, causing a distraction to the referee. So perhaps in there we get a physical 1, 2, 3, maybe from Jeff on Eddie Edwards, but the referee doesn't see it. During this incident, the referee is doing his best to get rid of ANX. Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, the two young lions of the New Age of Honor, come out and jump Sting and Jeff Hardy from behind. They go to the outside and hand the tag team titles to Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, and both men at the same time drive the title into the skull of Sting. They then drag him over to his corner. Jeff Hardy is then able to fight off Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly and can tag himself in, but from here it's essentially a 2-on-1 situation, and the American Wolves win the World Tag Team titles when Eddie Edwards pins Jeff Hardy with a die hard. And this is a decision that I've really gone back and forth on. Originally the plan was for the Icon and the Enigma to hold the titles until Bound for Glory, and then the team who'd win the Bound for Glory series would get the big win over them. Everything has been torn up with this, because basically for the sake of the Bound for Glory card, I think Jeff Hardy and Sting are better used elsewhere. A change that I really didn't expect to make. I was literally booking the show, I had my notes written out, and just at the last minute I changed to the American Wolves. Whether people agree with that, it has only been a short reign for the Icon and the Enigma, but I didn't feel it was quite getting across as I'd intended to at the time, so we've cut it a little bit short. And of course, with Bound for Glory around the corner, you want Jeff Hardy and Sting to be in one of those marquee matches, while we've got plenty of incredible tag teams to put on the World Tag Team title match that we deserve. I've gone around the houses with that, quite a convoluted match booking, and also the justification behind it. But we do note there, Davey Richards, fantastic with an 84, and the rest of them all around the same level. So Richards, the star of the show, really happy with that match overall. And we have new World Tag Team Champions, getting the crowd buzzing, as the car crash note was meant to simulate the absolute chaos of ANX coming out, then Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole coming out, the referee losing control entirely, and then Jeff Hardy ended up in a 2-on-1 situation that leads to the title change. Adam Cole was set as a face from his Ring of Honor time, so I've had to set him up with a heel turn, but I'm just going to give it a few segments so that I don't get that note that we're sick of seeing shock turns, because really he's debuted as a heel and it's just a mechanic in the game that I'm going to have to work around. We then see the American Wolves standing tall with the tag team titles, the same belts that they'd used to take Sting out of contention during the match, with Jeff Hardy and Sting both down. Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards ensure that the cameras are focused on them. They go in close to the lens, point to the TNA logo on their titles, and they're saying that they have proved that Ring of Honor's tag teams are levels above those in TNA. They don't represent TNA tag team wrestling as the champions, they represent Ring of Honor. The commentators put over that as per the pre-match agreement, ROH's American Wolves are confirmed to be walking into Bound for Glory as the TNA Tag Team Champions. Of course, that at the very least delays Sting and Jeff Hardy's rematch if it ever happens at all, and the idea is that we can get the full proper focus next month on No Surrender, featuring the semi-finals and finals of the Bound for Glory series, and Edwards and Richards get the chance to rest up and watch that as it unfolds. The fourth match of the night is for the Knockouts Championship, and unfortunately Mickie James is off her game, meaning that a good match probably could have been even better if she'd have performed at the level we know that she's capable of. During this match, we get a referee bump caused by Madison Rayne, perhaps intentionally, and the Amazon comes out. After Madison Rayne struggled to use the knockout punch on Mickie James, she's found a way to ensure that James can't escape as the Amazon grabs Mickie James and holds her in position. However, this backfires as Madison Rayne puts on the glove, swings the punch, only for Mickie to duck. Rayne therefore takes the Amazon out, she spills to the outside, and Mickie James is able to hit the Mick kick for defense number 4 of her TNA Knockouts Championship. Not the level of performance we want to see from Mickie James. We know she's capable of better than that, but I'm not going to complain with a 65. Mickie James standing tall, having once again outsmarted both Madison Rayne and the Amazon. The commentators put over the champion, with Taz saying that there are plenty of knockouts looking to take that title, but he questions if there is anybody operating at the level of Mickie James at the moment, having made a huge impact on this division in under a year. Mauro puts her over as already being on track to be one of the best Knockouts champions of all time, and if you look at her record since coming to the company, it would be very, very difficult to argue with that. She's been a fantastic addition to the Knockouts division. And out of that, we go straight into another Knockouts match for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. It's a 9-minute and 26 match, and while DNR have had the number of the beautiful people in the build to this storyline, the beautiful people are able to make, again, defense number 4 of the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championships. A lot of fourth defenses on this show. Angelina Love apparently carrying the match in terms of her in-ring performance, Roxy off her game, and that is actually reflected in the booking as Love pins Roxy with a makeover. 57 rating is decent, as the game says. The beautiful people stand tall, despite, as we said, them struggles that they had in the build to this match. Love and Sky make it clear that they don't see any other team being on their level, and with the championships around their waist, it's hard to argue with that. Those titles a testament to how good they've been. We then go into a video package before CM Punk's debut in the company. It almost seems odd that this isn't a main event, but I don't want to make the World Championship seem lesser, so CM Punk will be in the semi-main event, and the package looks at his arrival in TNA after months of teases and build from the New Age of Honor, or the New Age and the Ring of Honor guys as they were known, arriving 2 weeks after Samoa Joe had turned his back on TNA by choking out AJ Styles. Joe spoke of this man coming, and Punk made his message clear from day one. That promo at the top of the ramp directed at AJ Styles. He has since been extremely outspoken about TNA, seeing himself not only as the saviour of Ring of Honor, but also the voice of the voiceless, speaking up for those who had been cast aside by the TNA buyout of the promotion that he considered home, Ring of Honor, setting out on a mission not only to revive Ring of Honor, but also destroy TNA. CM Punk has met his strongest opposition from perhaps the most loyal man in TNA Wrestling. He was in the first ever match in company history. AJ Styles has long since been considered Mr. TNA. AJ Styles was partnered with Christopher Daniels, a fellow TNA original. They've had personal issues. They don't like each other, but with their history, we know that they have incredible chemistry as a tag team, and at times like this, that is more important than them getting along as friends. Tonight, CM Punk makes his debut in a TNA ring, but will be fighting for Ring of Honor under their banner. His mission, along with Samoa Joe, is to show the difference in levels between the two promotions. This has been the ethos of this group from the moment that they came in. They'll happily speak about their issues with the company. They'll happily speak about what they want to change, and this goes for the New Age coming in back in October. They will talk about what they want to change, but they have no problem backing it up. They feel that their ability in the ring, and it's hard to argue when you look at how good CM Punk and Samoa Joe are, is the best tool to essentially convert people to support their cause, and we'll see if they can do that in this match. It's a very good match, 82 happy with that. the first thing I look for is CM Punk's performance. 84 is a very good start, something we can build on. I'm unsurprised that Christopher Daniels is the weak link because he's not been booked as strongly, and it's probably unsurprising when we hear the result too. Fantastic heat and great wrestling, love to see that. I can imagine a really great big match atmosphere for this one, and when Samoa Joe takes AJ Styles out with a muscle buster on the outside, Punk and Daniels are left in the ring. It says a Pepsi plunge, not so sure about that. CM Punk hits a go to sleep to Christopher Daniels in the middle of the ring and pins him for the 1-2-3. It's 21 minutes and 18 seconds. We're always going to give them a nice long match, and CM Punk showing what he is capable of in his first match in a TNA ring. So happy to finally see him there competing. Such a great sign. I'm still not over the novelty of having CM Punk on our roster and having taken AJ Styles with a muscle buster on the steel steps on the outside. Forgot to note that during the match. Samoa Joe returns to join CM Punk in the ring. They've completed a very successful night for the ROH affiliated wrestlers, Tyler Black winning and retaining the X Division Championship, the American Wolves becoming the new World Tag Team Champions, Punk and Joe, the cherry on the icing on the cake, standing tall in the ring. But Punk isn't done as he shouts to the crowd. He wants to send a message directly down the camera lens to the viewers. The Saviour says that he has shown the TNA audience what he's done, and if this hasn't backed up all his words, then they are simply a lost cause. There is nothing more he can do, and he says he will not be competing in this ring until he gets what he wants. He sends a clear message to Paul Heyman. He's returning, and Punk will see him on Thursday. He's not going to waste a single second. In 4 days' time on Impact, CM Punk will be calling out Paul Heyman, a much anticipated segment, and finally Heyman looks to have grown a set and will be returning to the company. We then get a video package looking at the record-setting World Heavyweight Championship reign of Kurt Angle, which ended last month at the hands of Bryan Danielson. Unfortunately, this segment didn't get as good as I'd hoped because we actually put Kurt Angle on screen to speak in a sit-down interview recorded between Impact and this show to talk about his injury. We come into this rematch with that incident, Kurt Angle suffering an injury against Mr. Anderson and Matt Morgan. We replay that before we show Kurt Angle confirming that he is cleared to compete. The pre-recorded interview talking about his progress. He's feeling better every day, but admits he will not be going into this match 100%. He also adds there will be no need for excuses as he is fully intending to come out of hard justice at the beginning of another lengthy reign as World Heavyweight Champion. So it's pretty straightforward really. Bryan's told Kurt, you're not going to have any excuses after this match. Kurt saying he's not going to need them because he is coming for the World Heavyweight Championship. And we go into the main event. An exceptional match. As I expected, Kurt was slowed somewhat by injury, but it says everything that a man slowed by injury is still putting on the best performances on the card. That's why I made the decision to go through with this, and it's still a 45-minute match. Quite probably, aside from the Iron Man match at last year's Bound for Glory, the longest match that we've done. So you could say that I'm punishing Kurt a little bit by making him go out with an injury and have such a long match. But it's about showing the toughness, the resilience. There is no shame in him going out there, and he does lose in 45 minutes and 30 seconds when Bryan Danielson, who has targeted this pectoral throughout the match, locks in the cattle mutilation. Kurt Angle can't escape. He's in so much pain. This injury has been exasperated by Bryan Danielson's performance. He's stuck in the middle of the ring, but we know Kurt Angle, he will not tap out. Eventually, the pain is too much. The struggle goes on too long, and Kurt Angle is no longer responsive to the referee, who has no choice but to call for the bell. So 2 months straight, Bryan Danielson has caused a stoppage to Kurt Angle. It was a shocking moment last month when we finally saw Kurt's title reign ended, but tonight solidifies Bryan Danielson a 45-minute war against the greatest wrestler in the world, and he makes defense number 2 of the World Heavyweight Championship. Both men with an 86, only coming out as an 81, but I'm happy with that main event overall. It could have gone a lot worse. I did take a little bit of a risk putting Kurt Angle in the main event of a pay-per-view, knowing he would be carrying that injury and following a battle which even outdid their first match at Victory Road. I think it was 30 minutes at that pay-per-view. We've added another 15 minutes in just to show how much this means to these two men. Bryan struggles back to his feet. At no point in the post-match is he fully on his legs properly. He's holding himself up with the ropes. He's in the corner. He's doing everything to stay on his feet, but we can see that he is very much struggling. Kurt Angle taking him to his utmost limit. Speaking of Kurt, he remains down in the ring. He'd fought until he was no longer able to respond. He didn't give up, but his body gave out on him. Hard Justice 2011, ending with American Dragon having undoubtedly proven himself worthy of holding the World Heavyweight Championship. It wasn't him getting lucky last month. He is the best wrestler in the world. Of course, eventually Kurt Angle and many other people will contest that, and we'll see what comes for him at No Surrender and beyond. The pay-per-view going off the air with the commentators putting over that, what I just said basically. One huge challenge has been dealt with, but many more wait for Bryan Danielson. What we're alluding to there is the fact that he's still got to deal with this Ring of Honor situation, CM Punk giving him the ultimatum, AJ Styles, Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, all these top level competitors in the company, and they're all after the same prize. An 80 rating is actually a good show overall, happy with that. It's pretty clear who we're going to make our speech to. Bryan Danielson, praised for a great performance. I was going to say give Kurt Angle a hug, but that's probably not the best thing to do when he's in such severe pain, so I'll probably just say I want to point him out as a good example for putting over, well, he complained about putting over Bryan Danielson, so his morale's something I'm going to have to deal with. Hopefully pointing him out as a good example will slightly diminish the negative effect of him losing that match. And I noted that Davey Richards did a really good job in his match, so we'll compliment him on a good performance. At Victory Road, I asked Kurt Angle if he'd be okay to put Bryan Danielson over, and he'd agreed to do that. When I booked the main event for this show, he complained, tried to talk him around again, but he said he'd recently put Bryan over and basically he didn't want to do it again. Luckily, it wasn't his choice, and Bryan Danielson is still the World Heavyweight Champion. Really happy with that show overall, and you can just see how strong this roster is becoming. Solid action throughout the night. I really think that we're in a good position going now into this build to Bound for Glory. And what an impact we have scheduled for this Thursday. The return of Paul Heyman, and I've tried to build anticipation with this segment between CM Punk and Paul Heyman, but I've also got another huge segment with Paul Heyman involved, somebody else who has a bone to pick with him that I think really takes this storyline and takes the build to Bound for Glory to the next level, and hopefully you'll want to join me for that. I think it's going to be another really good show, and for me, after Hard Justice, that's where the proper road to Bound for Glory begins. Like how in WWE you'll have after the Royal Rumble, that's the road to WrestleMania, those 2 months. Well, it's 2 months until Bound for Glory, so we've really got to ramp things up, and hopefully it comes across as well as I have in mind. AJ giving some praise to Rhett Titus there. I'll have a look at the viewing figures, but I don't really keep on top of, I don't know if that's our best pay-per-view ever, I don't know if that's our worst pay-per-view ever. The numbers in the game are not something that I focus on too much, mostly because I tend to be sending the company in the opposite direction to what I hope. Either way, I hope that episode 100 of this series has been just as enjoyable as episode 1. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who is still watching. I know it's a long time to have done a single series, but I'm still really happy to see all the people who have been commenting from day one, who've been watching from day one, and the people who've joined along the way. So yeah, can't say thank you enough for that. Cheers, and hopefully you'll want to join me for the next episode and for the many more that hopefully follow. Thank you for watching again. Cheers.